So, if you ever listen to this podcast called Extra Time Radio with Andrew Wiebe, David Goss, and Matt Doyle, they always talk about something called free space disappointment, which is basically when every single MLS team gets eliminated in the CONCACAF Champions League, and that's when we of course talk about free space disappointment. And although we're not at that point yet, with the fact that there's still one MLS team, that is the Philadelphia Union, that is the last MLS team standing in this year's CONCACAF Champions League, tonight's action definitely felt like it was free space disappointment, and that this is probably one of the darkest day for MLS team involving the CONCACAF Champions League, probably right on verge of what happened last year when that tournament, of course, was played in Orlando for the last couple of rounds, where we also saw four MLS teams make it to the quarterfinal, and only one of them, of course, move on into the next round, with three of those four teams getting eliminated in the quarterfinal. Now, obviously, let's just hope maybe this could be the same case like what we saw last time, where, LAFC were the only team that moved on to the semifinal, and then they went on to the final of the CONCACAF Champions League against Tigres. Maybe the Union can do the same thing, where they're the only team left in MLS that is going to be heading into the semifinal, and maybe they can also, of course, get themselves into the CCL final. But again, there's no doubt that today was definitely not a great day if you're an MLS fan rooting for these teams to move on into the semifinal. And I would definitely recommend for a lot of MLS fans to basically stay off of Twitter and also Reddit, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Liga MX kind of people, and especially, if you are a person from Liga MX, try to go easy on the comments. There's really no need to kind of just pour on the salt down in the comment section and talk about how MLS is clearly still way behind in terms of the way that Liga MX is currently at. But let's actually get into the first game, which is Monterey versus Columbus. And yeah, this was probably the worst performance that the crew has pretty much had in the last two seasons, where, in this game, they pretty much were never in this game, besides maybe the first couple of minutes of this one. But early on in this one, 2 minutes in, Meza was able to give Rayados a 1-0 lead, and, as good as Eloy Rom has been, and that he's been considered one of the best goalkeeper in the league, this was definitely not a great moment for him, because this ball was coming into the box where he basically allowed a big rebound, which Meza was able to pounce on that one and tapped it into the back end net. And just like that, Rayados were 1-0 up against Columbus, and probably the last thing, if you're a crew fan, that you want to see your team to play, which is go down early down in Mexico and now have to, of course, chase the game, and also potentially now have to get 2 goals to move on into the next leg. Now, Zardes did try to equalize on the other end, but unfortunately that shot was put wide. Then Cardenas did deny Zardes in the near post. I mean, Zardes in this game, yeah, this was definitely not a good game for him, and you wonder whether or not if that dislocated shoulder that he kind of took a knock on last week was still bothering him. But this was also a game where, if you're a crew fan, you're hoping Zardes can be like that Jersey Zardes, which is a guy that can be clinical in front of goal, but that just doesn't seem like that was the case in this game. Though I will say that it was a good response from the Columbus crew, going down 1-0 in this game and potentially getting an equalizer to get back into this two-legged affair, or in the second leg. But then Room did have to rob Janssen twice, including the follow-up. The announcer in this game keep kind of pronouncing his name Vincent Johnson, which I don't think that's how you actually pronounce his name. Obviously, Vincent Janssen, former Tottenham player. I, of course, have seen him play for Spurs in the Premier League for a long time, and I don't recall any of those announcer when Janssen was with the Spurs actually pronounce his last name that is Johnson. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to keep saying it's Janssen, but I guess maybe the announcer decided to kind of pronounce it the other way. Then in the 23rd minute, it was Meza getting on the scoreboard again as Rayados double their lead, and he of course scores from Janssen, and again it's another bad giveaway from Columbus. And by the way, the previous play was all because The way that Janssen actually got through on goal was all because of a WTF turnover. I think it was Mensa, the one that basically gave the ball away in the worst spot possible. And, fortunately, Eloy Rome was able to make a good double save to prevent Columbus to go down 2-0. But ultimately, they did win down 2-0. And again, another bad giveaway from them. And that when you give the ball away multiple times to this Rayados team, you are eventually going to get punished, and they of course got punished at that moment. And just like that, it's 2-0 in this game. Although when you look at the aggregate score, that goal really didn't matter that much, because Columbus of course do need the 2 goals, and really need that goal basically ensure that if Columbus does score those 2 goals, this one of course will be going into a penalty kick shootout. The Olays, of course, was coming out in Monterey, which you can tell that's probably bad news for Columbus, because anytime the Olay comes out in Mexico, that means you're probably not doing very well in a game. Now, Gallardo in the 33rd minute just pulls it wide from close range, and I just thought this could get really ugly for Columbus, because again, despite they did show some fight back after giving up the early goal in this game, they really just looked like they looked down and out and looked deflated after they gave up the second goal in this game. Now, in the 36th minute, we had some CCL shithousery that is happening after both of these teams kind of clashed together, and I think it was Nico Sanchez that kind of kicked out Luis Diaz there, and then as Sanchez was kind of checked to see Diaz was okay, he actually decided to pick up Diaz to just pick him up to get himself back on the ground. And obviously Diaz was having none of it, and that both of those players were getting in each other faces, and then next thing you know, pretty much everybody was getting in each other faces. Just another example of why CCL can sometimes be very crazy, and especially when an MLS team play against a Liga MX team. That is kind of your typical kind of affair where we're going to at least see once where there's going to be flare up between both of these sides. And we'll also talk about a little bit later in the second game where there was definitely a lot of those that happened in this game also between Club America and the Portland Timbers. But as we head to halftime with a 2-0 lead in favor of Monterey, and you're hoping that maybe Columbus can show some fight back, because they definitely didn't show it for the last 15 minutes of the first half. No. Instead, in the second half, Waylon Francis did have probably the best chance for Columbus in the second half with a looping cross that looked like it was almost one of those kind of cross shot kind of moment, and that Waylon Francis almost did kind of a Randall Leal, basically he crosses this one and accidentally hits it into the top right of the corner. But unfortunately, this one was not meant to be, and it was actually the top left this time that basically went in. And I also thought Columbus just don't have the sharpness going forward, and this is why in the last game when I saw that Zaire of course was going to be suspended in this game, I thought this was going to be tough for them to trying to maybe get something going on the attack, because we saw in the last game the reason why Columbus was doing very well going forward and able to score the goals that they had against Rayados is because of Zaire just a moment of magic, and kind of going back to his MLS Cup final form, just carrying this team and able to provide the goals to drag this team to be in the position where they could potentially score just one goal and move on into the next leg. But in the 56th minute, Montez and Etienne again having some choice words with each other as both teams once again kind of clash with each other. I also kind of laughed my ass off when the announcer says that this game isn't really for the faint of heart. I mean, I don't know if this announcer have never watched a CCL game, because I'm pretty sure every CCL game is not for the faint of heart. Like, if you are watching these games and you expect this to be a very kid-friendly kind of environment, then I'm sorry to say that you're probably watching the wrong type of game. And that, CCL, if there is supposed to be a rating in terms of this game or like a movie rating, I would say CCL game are kind of rated R and maybe be on a level where it's even above rated R with the way how crazy these games, of course, have had. So to say that this game is not really for a faint of heart, I mean, not only that is pretty much a dumb moment, but also it's pretty obvious that CCL game is definitely not for the faint of heart. But in the 71st minute, it would be 3-0 in favor of Monterey after Miguel Layun scored a wonderful full free kick, and I also said that was pretty much game, set, and match. And also at this point, I pretty much did the same thing I did yesterday in that Cruz Azul versus Toronto game, where in the latter part of this game, I just decided to give up taking notes because I knew this game was over. And even if Layun didn't score that free kick goal, this game was just way over. But from what I did see for the last 15 minutes, or at least kind of half pay attention to see what happened in the last 15 minutes, is that Rayados continued to push, and that it didn't seem like they were satisfied of just scoring 3 goals in this game. But ultimately, 3-0 is the final score. 5-2 is the aggregate score throughout both of these legs. And the shots in this game, 21 shots compared to 6 that Columbus had, 11 shots on goal compared to 1 that Columbus had, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that the Crew has, 5 shots that is blocked compared to 1 that the Crew has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Crew had in this game. I mean, Rayados absolutely dominate every single category of the stat chart, and this is also just one of those games where the stats clearly tells the story, where, you know, Monterey was completely dominating Columbus in this game. And, you know, Columbus, besides that little fight back that they show after going down 1-0, they really was never in this game. But now moving on into the last game of tonight, which is Club America versus Portland Timbers. And just like the first leg, this was also a very crazy game, and this is also kind of a very CONCACAF level kind of game, where if you want to see some clashes between both of these teams in terms of the emotion, and also see some blown calls that was made for this game, then yeah, we definitely had a couple of those happen in this one. Now, in the first half, I wrote, besides the altitude in this game, I thought the Timbers were once again have to deal with a choppy pitch that was happening at the Estadio Azteca. I mean, it seems like they didn't really had a grounds crew who to even bother to fix up the turf, because I thought the turf at the Azteca was very heavy, kind of similar to the one when the Timbers play against Marathon down in San Pedro Sula, where the ball wasn't actually moving a lot. And I think maybe the only way that the ball kind of did get things go, or the ball did kind of roll a little bit better in this choppy pitch, was the fact that it was pretty much raining throughout this game. And, you know, the rain definitely was a factor in this game, or at least early on it definitely looked like it was a factor, because, you know, despite the fact that there wasn't really much chances early on, and, you know, the Timbers, they did kind of look promising early in this game, the defense and goalkeeping was very suspect from the Timbers early in this game. I mean, Jeff Antonelli had a lot of trouble in terms of trying to hold on to a wet ball, and trying to, and basically a couple of times he basically spilled it when he tried to catch the ball. And then on the defensive end, I think there was like that one moment in the first 15 minutes of the game where the corner was coming in for Club America, and that ball was just dangling in the box, was pinballing in the box, and I thought for sure that the Timbers was going to concede a goal there, because when you basically have a pinball action happen in the box, yeah, that usually is bad news if you are a defensive team, because eventually there's probably going to be somebody that is able to puts it into the back net, and the Timbers are very fortunate that in that sequence the ball did not ends up into the back of net, and they did not go down 1-0 in this game. But in the 17th minute, Antonelli was able to deny Valdez from 20 yards out. He also tipped a 22-yard free kick over from Richard Sanchez, but those were kind of just warning shot, and kind of just tells you that Club America is starting to wake up and looking to try to get the game first goal, which eventually they would get that. It happened in the 21st minute with Vanes scoring for Niles to give them a 1-0 lead. Almost said that they tied the game up, but it was Club America with a 1-0 lead at that point. And let's see, I think the aggregate score at that point was 2-1 in favor of Club America, which, you know, if you're the Timbers, you're disappointed that you of course did concede concede that goal, but still, doesn't really change anything where, if they do get one back, this one would have gone to extra time. But unfortunately, as I've said many times, even though when you look at the aggregate score and how when MLS team concede a goal, the aggregate score sometimes really doesn't matter where the other teams still need to, of course, score the equal amount of goals for them to maybe get a win. Well, I feel like maybe some of these teams doesn't really kind of had that mindset, because it just feels like anytime when an MLS team concede a goal to Liga MX team, they usually don't show that kind of fight back and had that mentality to potentially tie the game up very quickly, because after that, in this game too, America really started to dominate the possession and dictate the game, and this kind of looked very similar to the first leg, where I thought America in that first leg, especially in the first half, were by far the better team. And the Timbers, they were really struggling to trying to create anything on the attack. I mean, they were also trying to do something similar to what they did in the first leg, which is sit back and trying to hit America on the counter, but it just never happened in this game, and they just couldn't create anything whenever they go on the transition in this first half. But heading into the second half with Club America with a 1-0 lead, there was an early chance for both teams. First, it was Ochoa denying Felipe Mora from 10 yards out. That was actually the first shot that the Timbers had in this game, which kind of just sums up how much they were struggling to create anything on the attack in the first half. But then on the other end, Antonella had to deny Linus from close range. The Timbers, I thought they looked much sharper on the build-up early in the second half. Ochoa then had to make another save, this time denying Jimmy Chara from about 20 yards out. And then this is where the controversy, of course, began in this game. And, did I mention how there was a couple of blown calls that happened in this game? Well, this was one of them. In the 54th minute, a penalty was given to America after Claudio Bravo bring down Suarez in the box. And when I look on the replay, it looks like Bravo and Suarez both were kind of locking their arms together. And when that, of course, happened, I feels like it was just both players trying to battle for the ball, and both players kind of just got tangled up each other. And that, in the end, I just thought that that's a play that I usually don't see call it being a penalty, and when it does being called, I thought it's a very soft penalty. And apparently Stu Holden, he even kind of originally think that was clearly not a penalty, and that eventually they did go to VAR to see whether or not if that is the case. And again, just because the CONCACAF Champions League have VAR doesn't mean that they're still going to make the correct call, because, as I said before, the people that is in charge of VAR in this competition is also the same people that is watching call left and right. So it was pretty much to nobody's surprise that even when they go to VAR and you hope that maybe they correct that call, no. Instead, it was still a penalty for Club America, which Venas was able to put it away. Antonella went the right way, and he definitely was kind of disgusted that he wasn't able to save that one, because, I didn't think that was a good penalty from Venas, and I thought maybe Antonella had a chance to save that one, and I believe maybe the ball kind of got under him as he was trying to dive to the left to save that one. But either way, it was a 2-0 lead in favor of Club America, and you can kind of start to see the mountain is starting to be even more steeper for the Timbers than they are coming into this game. But then 3 minutes later, it seems like the referee kind of felt bad for the Timbers giving America a phantom penalty, so he decided that he's gonna make up for it. In the 62nd minute, the Timbers would get a penalty after Mora was, and I put quotation mark, clipped by Fuentes, because really I think this was when Mora basically shot this one that was saved by Ochoa. It seems like in his follow-up motion he kind of grazed his leg in Fuentes' leg, and I didn't think that was much in terms of contact there to be awarded a penalty. But nevertheless, I guess this was the makeup call from the early call that was probably a very soft penalty. And for the Timbers, they of course were able to take advantage of that, and Valeri was able to bury it to make it 2-1 in this game. And all of a sudden, this game definitely got interesting. And for the Timbers, not only that was a massive goal for them to get back into this game, but now if they could score the next goal, they could potentially tie the game up and actually move on into the next leg, because they have the 2 away goal advantage over just the 1 away goal that Club America has. So it seems like we're setting up for a grandstand. No. Suarez scores from Aquino to make it 3-1 in favor of Club America in the 69th minute. And this was just bad defending from the Timbers. In fact, the Timbers tonight, I talked about how last season one of the biggest things that they struggled last year was defending, and you were thinking maybe this season when they made those signings this year, bringing guys like Van Raken and even Claudio Bravo, maybe that of course would fix. No, it doesn't seem like that was the case. In fact, Bravo had an absolute nightmare game in this one, because I think this shot was actually deflected off of him, and it basically redirected to a spot where Antonella wasn't able to react quickly to save that one. But nevertheless, I also blame the fact that the Timbers did not do a good job in terms of closing down, and also you just cannot let a guy kind of cut in to your left and basically shoots that one toward goal. But nevertheless, it was 3-1 in favor of Club America. The Timbers were back in the position that they were early on, where they need the 2 goals to potentially move on to the next leg. Mora had a chance in the 75th minute as he actually went through on goal, and I have no idea how he did not get any contact to this one, because he was kind of going through on goal from about 5 yards out. All you need to do is just kind of toe tap that one past Ochoa, and yet somehow in some way he didn't make any contact to that one. And late in the game, as much as the Timbers was trying to chase the game and trying to get that second goal to make this a 1-goal game, Suarez almost put this game away in the 87th minute as he basically hit the post after he tried to chip Antonella as we went through on goal. Again, I also kind of wrote the Timbers kind of started to look spent, because when you play pretty much 87 minutes up to that point in altitude, it's definitely going to take a really big toll on your body. And I just feel like at that point, probably the Timbers' time to try to get those two goals to move on to the next leg was pretty much all over. Although Valeri did have a chance in the 89th minute as he fluffed his lines from about 12 yards out. I know that was kind of a bad miss from Valeri, but I also kind of feel like maybe he was just so spent that he can't even focus enough to try to put a simple shot on target. I mean, usually when Valeri is there in the box and wide open like that, he usually does not miss those chances very often. But again, because pretty much every single Timbers player was spent because of the altitude, I can understand why they started to really don't have that fitness level to trying to go the extra mile and maybe score a goal to make this game a lot interesting late in this one. But yeah, 3-1 is the final score of this game. 4-2 is your score in terms of the aggregate over these 2 legs. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 8 that the Timbers had, 9 shots on goal compared to the 5 that the Timbers had, 5 shots off target compared to the 2 that the Timbers had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Timbers had in this game. And again, it was a very disappointing night if you were an MLS fan watching both of these games. And now you're just hope that in a couple of months' time, when the Union does play against Club America, they are definitely going to be the last hope in terms of an MLS team potentially winning CCL this season. And knowing how Club America kind of play in these 2 legs against the Timbers, it's going to be definitely a tall task for the Union in a couple of months' time for them to able to move on into the final. But you never know. I mean, the next round of CCL is not going to happen until August. Things could definitely change, and maybe the Union could get better while Club America might be dealing with some injury, and all of a sudden when we come to that semifinal of the CCL between the Union and Club America, things could be a little bit different. But something tells me this season, it just feels like this feels very similar to what happened in 2019, I believe. Yeah, in 2019, when I think Sporting KC were like the only team to move on into the semifinal, and they got that gigantic task to play against Rayados, and then they end up, I think, losing like 10-2 throughout the 2 leg. And I'm not saying that the Union probably is going to suffer that same fate, but it kind of has that similar vibe, where this is probably not going to be a year we're going to see an MLS team lifting the CONCACAF Champions League trophy for the first time in this competition history. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of both of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of both of these games? And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.